My name is Mara Ellison, and I'm 32 years old. There are kitchens I have worked in that taught me discipline: timers, mise en place, burn cream in the first aid drawer. Family taught me something else: how to put out fires no one else would admit they started. It began small. Mara, could you help with the electricity bill this month? Mom would call it a favor and add, "You're so lucky. You don't have all the responsibilities your sister does." Lucky. That was the word for the absence of a husband or kids, the reason my paychecks were considered community property. When Sarah's son needed braces, she sighed into the phone. "We wouldn't ask, but you're doing so well." Then came school supplies, surprise repairs, soccer fees, one temporary credit card top-up that never found its way back. I told myself it was fine, family, and I was stable enough to bend. The one thing I kept for myself was a postcard of Rome pinned above my desk. The Colosseum looked baked and eternal. Every time I got close to affording the trip, something happened. A bill, an emergency, a guilt trip. So when I finally booked Italy, my own money, my own itinerary, I told no one. It felt deliciously selfish. At the airport, I stood in the economy line, fighting that bleary cocktail of excitement and exhaustion. The boarding area hummed with announcements and spilled coffee. Then I heard it, Sarah's voice, bright and managerial. "Liam, backpack down, the seats are huge. You don't need all that." I turned and my breath tripped. There they were, Sarah, the kids, and my parents in priority, matching outfits, glossy carry-ons, the easy body language of people who have never sprinted to a gate. First class. For a heartbeat, I thought I'd misread reality, but then Mom leaned towards Sarah and laughed. "I still feel bad we couldn't take Mara." Sarah snorted. Please. She wouldn't have fit in. Something in me moved, like a chair being pulled back at a table I'd been sitting at too politely. I didn't speak. I didn't wave. The agent called their group. They glided forward, not seeing me at all. I watched my family disappear down the jet bridge, all that soft carpeting absorbing their footsteps. I boarded later, shuffled down the narrow aisle with the rest of us, who print our own boarding passes and buy snacks and cash. My seat neighbor fell asleep before takeoff. The engine's growl tucked me into a quiet I couldn't remember choosing before. I texted Noah, my boyfriend, 2 words: on board. He replied instantly, "Proud of you. Send me a photo of your first espresso there." I stared at the message longer than it deserved, grateful for how he didn't try to fix anything. Italy was hot stone and small miracles. I waited in slow lines without complaint. I stood under ceilings that had watched empires fall apart and put themselves back together in mosaics. I went where my feet wanted, not where anyone else told me to go. It should have been perfect, and in many ways it was. But some nights on the balcony, espresso in hand, the phrase surfaced like a stubborn bubble. She wouldn't have fit in. Was that what I'd been doing all along? Shrinking to fit? When I landed a week later, jet lag and sun still clinging to my skin, Mom called within hours. Her voice was too cheerful. "Sweetheart, how was your trip?" It was great, I said. The word sounded like a stone dropping. "Oh, good, good. Listen, your dad and I were wondering if you could help out with groceries this month. Things are tight." Silence stretched until it snapped. "Groceries," I repeated. "Like the ones you bought on your way back from first class?" A beat, then a laugh, airy and false. That was different. We had miles saved up and Sarah found a deal. "Don't," I said. It came out softer than I felt. "We would have taken you if we could have." "But you could," I said, and this time it came out clean. "You just didn't want to." There was a long, papery sound, her riffling for a script that always worked on me. "We didn't think you'd mind," she tried. "You didn't think of me," I corrected. I hung up before she could turn grief into a weapon. The next day, my phone lit up. "Sarah." Against my better judgment, I answered. "So now you're too good to pick up?" she snapped. "First class must have been restorative," I said. "Oh my God, Mara, are you seriously mad about that? Grow up." "I am," I said. "That's why I'm done paying for everyone." Pause. Then her voice switched to sweet. She has always been multilingual in self-interest. "You don't have kids? You don't have real expenses? It's different for you." "Right. And yet I paid for Liam's soccer fees last month." "Well, yeah, because you always do," she said, like she was pointing out gravity. "Not anymore." Another pause, a scoff. "You're actually serious. Wow. You're such a selfish little—" She didn't finish because I ended the call. Later, scrolling through my photos, faded frescoes, my hand around a white cup, a street that looked like a memory. I saw a story Sarah had posted from the airport lounge before departure. It had music and stickers and a throwaway caption. Friend hooked us up. In the frame corner, a woman's profile blurred past, familiar jawline, sleek ponytail. I didn't place it until Noah texted that night. "How are you?" he asked. "Better than expected," I typed. Small question. "Does your ex still work in luxury travel?" A bubble. Then, "Cassie? Yeah, why?" I looked again at Sarah's video and felt the floor of a future argument assembling itself piece by piece. "No reason," I lied and put my phone face down. Something had already changed. I couldn't name it exactly, but I could feel it, like walking in the city after midnight and realizing all at once that you're not scared anymore. This time, I would not be their safety net. I would be my own ground. Jet lag made the apartment feel like an aquarium, everything moving a beat behind the sound. I set my suitcase by the door and let Rome slide out of my hair with the shower steam. By the time I'd brewed coffee, my phone was already performing its old tricks, Mom calling with a brightness that sounded like a smile held at gunpoint. "Sweetheart, did you love it? Did you throw a coin in the fountain?" "It was good," I said, measuring my voice the way I measure salt. "Oh, wonderful. So listen." Paper rustled. The preamble was muscle memory. "Your father and I are a tiny bit tight this month. Just a little help for groceries would—" "Like the groceries you bought after first class?" I asked. Silence. Then the familiar pivot. "We had miles, Mara, and Sarah found this deal, and—" "Mom," I said, soft but immovable, "don't." Another silence, smaller now. "We didn't think you'd mind." "You didn't think about me," I said, and pressed end before guilt could find a foothold. 10 minutes later, Sarah. I watched her name hover and finally answered. "So you're ignoring the family now?" She opened, bright and brittle. I answered, "Didn't I?" "Oh my God, is this about the lounge? Grow up. A friend got us in. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal is forgetting napkins," I said. "Not a big deal is using miles without bragging in a group chat." Mocking me, she wouldn't have fit in. That's a choice. She laughed, mean and musical. "You don't have kids. You don't have real expenses. It's different for you. And yet I paid Liam's soccer fees last month." "Because you always do." She said it like I was explaining why rain is wet. "Not anymore." A beat, then her voice sharpened. "You're actually serious. Wow. Selfish much?" The line clicked dead from my side. By noon, the flood started. "Mom, we're family. Families help each other. Call me." "Dad, don't be dramatic. Be reasonable." "Sarah, you think you're better than us now?" I put the phone face down and cleaned the kitchen with unnecessary focus. Corners, grout, the place under the faucet where lime pretends to be stone. When I finally looked again, Noah's name was on the screen. "How's home?" he texted. "Strange. Quiet in a new way," I typed. Then, because the thought had been pacing in my head since the lounge video. Question. "Your ex, Cassie, does she still do concierge magic?" A pause. "Yeah. Corporate clients, upgrades. Why?" I thought of the blurred jawline in Sarah's story, the caption, "Friend hooked us up," and Mom's brittle laugh, the way contempt had sounded cozy in their mouths. "I think she helped them," I wrote. "Not her fault. Just information." Noah called. "I didn't know Sarah even had Cassie's contact." He exhaled. "I'm sorry." "You didn't do anything," I said. "Still, if you'd realized," I finished, "they would have used it anyway." I let the words sit between us. "Are you okay with me being done?" "I'm okay with you not breaking yourself to keep other people comfortable," he said. "And for what it's worth, Cassie wouldn't have known the family politics. She follows policy. That lounge thing could have been through her team, or someone she knows. There are lines she won't cross." "Good," I said. "I like lines." 2 days of quiet domestic rebellion followed. I opened a new savings bucket and named it Breathing. I unsubscribed from a dozen guilt-colored emails. I took a long walk without my phone and let the city inform me of its weather all by itself. Then Mom called again, voice dressed in crisis. "Mara, your father and we didn't want to worry you, but things are tight and, well, the mortgage is behind." There it was, the real ask, wearing the costume of love. I gripped the counter, felt the cool laminate tether me to the room. "How far behind?" A pause. 2 months. "And you didn't mention this before the trip," I said. "We didn't want to burden you." The irony trembled, but did not crack. "Right," I said. "You only wanted the photo at the gate." Mara, she whispered, sliding from performance to plea. Help us this one last time. One last time. The phrase had tenure. No. The quiet on the other end changed temperature. You're being selfish, she snapped, grief abandoned for anger. After everything we've done for you. Name one thing in the last 5 years that didn't involve asking me for money, I said. The silence that followed was a confession. I hope you figure it out, I added, and ended the call. That evening, the knock came like a drum roll. Sarah. Full makeup, weaponized tote bag. She pushed past me without permission and dropped her purse on the counter like a gavel. What is wrong with you? She demanded. Good evening to you too. You know exactly what I mean. Mom is spiraling, Dad's freaking out, and I'm stuck managing everything because you've decided to have a personality. I folded my arms. You mean you're finally managing what I've been managing for years? Oh my God, stop being dramatic, she scoffed. They need help. You're punishing them because you're jealous. Jealous of what? Being the family ATM? Watching you laugh while I fund your emergencies? I held her gaze. This isn't about the trip, Sarah. This is about a system where I only exist when I'm useful. I'm stepping out of it. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish in air, then found her footing. Fine. Do whatever you want. But don't come crawling back when you realize you need us. I smiled, polite as a receipt. I won't. She slammed the door so hard my framed map rattled. The sound faded fast. The relief stayed. Dad called the next day with the voice he reserves for waiters he plans to undertip. Dinner Sunday. We need to talk. I'm busy, I said. Son, he caught himself. Mara, enough is enough. You're acting childish. From where I'm sitting, I said, I'm the only one acting like an adult. He sighed the sigh of a man denied a discount. Your mother wants things to go back to normal. So do I said. I just have a new definition. There was a scrape, the sound of him rearranging his patience. Be reasonable. I am, for the first time in my life. He tried one last card. Sarah is struggling. Then she's learning. A beat. I could feel the cold through the phone. Fine, he said, clipped, and hung up. That night, Noah brought over noodles and quiet. We ate on the floor because my table felt like a place where debates happen and I was committed to having none. Do you need anything? He asked. Just for my phone to stop ringing. He nodded. I can't make that happen. I can, I said, and pressed the side button. Silence wrapped the room like a blanket that finally belonged to me. Later, while washing the bowls, I caught our reflections in the dark window. 2 people, same height, sitting, shoulders making a clean line, not rescuer and rescued, not giver and taker, just even. You're different, Noah said quietly. I stopped apologizing for not being their solution, I said. Turns out I still work. He bumped my shoulder with his. You more than work. Outside, rain started, fine and steady. Inside, nothing leaked. I went to bed and slept the kind of sleep you only get when you've stopped paying interest on someone else's dream. The third morning without a family call felt like an accident, like someone had forgotten to pull the alarm. Then, right on cue, my phone buzzed with Mom's name. Again. I let it go to voicemail, but the text followed within minutes. Mom, Mara, please, we have a problem. I sighed. Of course, always we. Another buzz. Mom, it's about the house. That line caught me, like muscle memory. I stood there, phone hovering, debating whether to delete or dial back. A part of me, the old obedient part, still thought maybe this time was different. I pressed call. She answered before the first ring finished. Mara, thank God. I didn't want to worry you, but we're 2 months behind on the mortgage and the bank. I cut in. I already told you I can't help. Mara, please, just this one time. You know we'll pay you back. You've said that before. It's not the same. We were counting on you. Why? I asked. Because I always cave? Her breath hitched. Because you're family. The word landed like a bruise. Exactly, I said. And family should mean care, not credit. Then I ended the call. 5 minutes later, Noah texted. Everything okay? I typed back, mortgage guilt trip. They're behind. His reply came fast. You're not their emergency fund. You're their habit. He wasn't wrong. That evening, while I was washing dishes, the doorbell rang hard enough to shake the frame. I already knew who it was. Sarah barged in the second the door opened. Her perfume arrived first. Expensive, loud, like she wanted the whole building to know she was suffering stylishly. What is wrong with you? She demanded, tossing her purse onto the counter. Define wrong, I said, not looking up from the sink. Mom's in tears. Dad's panicking. The bank's calling. And you're sitting here making soup like nothing's happening. Because nothing that's mine is on fire, I said. I warned them. I'm not fixing what they broke. She laughed without humor. You're unbelievable. This is about that stupid trip, isn't it? You're punishing us because we didn't invite you. I turned, towel in hand. You really think it's about a flight? Sarah, it's about a lifetime of me paying while you played. It's about Mom calling me only when her account balance hits zero. It's about Dad pretending responsibility is a group project. Oh my God, you're so dramatic, she snapped. You don't have kids, Mara. You don't get it. No, I get it, I said quietly. I've been raising all of you for 10 years. Her mouth opened, then closed. No comeback. Finally, she sneered. Fine, do whatever you want. But don't come crawling back when you realize money doesn't buy love. Neither does manipulation, I said. The slam of the door was loud enough to rattle the glass. I stood there, pulse steadying. The smell of garlic and thyme filled the air. Peace didn't feel triumphant. It felt earned. Later that night, Dad called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got me. Mara, he said, tone clipped and authoritative, the way he used to sound before asking for a favor. Enough. You're being childish. Childish, I repeated, because I finally said no. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Families don't abandon each other. Families also don't use each other as ATMs, I said. He sighed. Your mother's been crying nonstop. She just wants things back to normal. Normal means me covering your bills and smiling about it. That's not fair. It's honest, I said. When was the last time you called me just to ask how I'm doing? Silence. I could almost hear him shifting, searching for a moral high ground he didn't have. Mara, he said finally, his voice lowering, we raised you better than this. No, I said. You trained me better than this. To fix, to save, to disappear when it's convenient. I've unlearned that. He exhaled sharply, frustrated. So that's it? You're just walking away? I'm not walking away, I said. I'm staying where I've always been. You're the ones who moved. His tone went cold. Fine. Fine, I echoed and ended the call. For the first time, the word didn't sound like surrender. It sounded like oxygen. That night, Noah came over with a small box under his arm. Peace offering, he said. Inside was a folder labeled Auto Pay, canceled. He grinned. I helped you set up new banking limits. No transfers without your approval. You'll get an alert if anyone tries to withdraw. I laughed. You make freedom sound like a software update. He leaned on the counter, smiling softly. I just want you to keep your peace secure. I nodded. Then it's mutual. When he left, I checked my messages one last time. Nothing from Mom, nothing from Sarah, just quiet. And quiet, I realized, was better than love with conditions. By the end of the week, the silence had stretched so long it started to sound like music. But I knew my family too well. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. And when they spoke next, I could already feel it. They wouldn't be asking. They'd be breaking. A week passed, then two. The silence was almost suspicious. For the first time in years, my paycheck belonged entirely to me. No, just until Friday transfers. No emergency calls. I bought myself fresh sheets that smelled like eucalyptus and sleep. I started sketching again, something I hadn't done since college. Even the way I breathed felt different, like air was finally allowed to reach the bottom of my lungs. Then came the text from Kelly, my sister's friend. Hey, Mara. I don't know if I should be telling you this, but things are bad for Sarah. You probably deserve to know. I frowned. Me, bad how? Kelly, money. Arguments. She had to use her savings to help your parents cover their mortgage. Her husband's furious. They might sell the house. Me, why are you telling me? Kelly, because she still blames you for everything. Thought you should see this. A screenshot followed, a group chat between Sarah and her friends. Sarah. Mara's just sitting there watching us drown. She doesn't care about anyone but herself. Sarah. I had to drain my savings to keep Mom and Dad afloat. Mark's threatening to sell the car. This is all their fault for depending on her for so long. Sarah. If she doesn't come crawling back soon, I swear I'll... I stopped reading. The words blurred. Crawling back. Still, after everything, she thought I was the one who needed them. I took a slow breath and deleted the screenshot. I didn't need more proof of who they were. That evening, Noah came over carrying takeout and calm. You okay? He asked, setting the bag down. They're unraveling, I said. Sarah's savings, the house, all of it. He studied me, not unkindly. And how does that make you feel? Relieved, I admitted, then guilty for feeling relieved. He nodded. That's just the detox talking. I smiled faintly. Detox from family. Exactly. Withdrawal from being needed. Later, as we ate, I told him about the group chat, about Sarah's words. He didn't react, just reached for my hand. You did everything you could. You said no before you broke. That's not cruelty, that's survival. He was right, and deep down I already knew it. A week later, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of habit. Mara. Dad. His voice was gravel and authority. What do you want? Enough is enough, he said. You've made your point, but we're your parents. This behavior isn't right. I laughed softly. What behavior? Boundaries? You've abandoned your family over a misunderstanding, over a vacation. It's not about the vacation, Dad, I said, exhaustion pressing against my ribs. It's about the years I spent sacrificing for a family that never once saw me as part of it. That's not true, he said quickly. We always appreciated you. Then why was I never invited? I asked. Why was I good enough to pay, but not to sit with you? Silence. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Then he sighed. We can fix this. Fix what? Me finally having a spine? His tone hardened. Sarah's struggling. The kids. They'll live, I said. Mara, be reasonable. I am. For the first time, I'm being perfectly reasonable. There was a pause, then his voice turned cold. So that's it? You're walking away? You walked first, I said. Remember at the airport? Another long silence, then clipped and bitter. Fine. Click. That was the last time I ever heard his voice. Days turned into weeks. Then a mutual acquaintance told me Sarah and her husband had sold their house. My parents moved into a smaller one nearby. They told everyone it was downsizing by choice, but I knew better. Cassie, Noah's ex, the one who'd accidentally arranged their upgrades, reached out once through Noah just to say she was sorry. I had no idea it was your sister, she'd said. They mentioned family tension, but I didn't think... Her voice faded. She didn't need to finish. It's fine, I told her. You were just doing your job. So was I. After that, I started building a life that didn't orbit anyone else. Noah and I planned a small trip together. Not Rome this time, not even far. A cabin by a lake, no Wi-Fi, no family group chats. When we got there, I left my phone off for 3 whole days. On the last night, while the sky turned violet over the water, I asked him, Do you think they'll ever forgive me? He smiled gently. That assumes you did something wrong. I looked at the horizon. Maybe I did. I kept paying to be included in a family that didn't want me. He squeezed my hand, then stop paying, start living. And I did. I unlinked accounts, changed passwords, canceled autopays. I bought myself the espresso machine I'd wanted for years. Every hiss of steam sounded like punctuation. Enough, enough, enough. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that morning at the airport. My family in matching outfits, laughing like I didn't exist. It used to feel like rejection. Now it feels like revelation. I used to think love meant rescue. Now I know. Real love doesn't invoice itself afterward. One day, maybe I'll see them again. Older, quieter, smaller. Maybe they'll want to talk. And maybe I'll listen. But I won't go back. I don't owe them my forgiveness. I owe myself my freedom. When I finally book another flight, it won't be for anyone's approval. It'll be my name on the ticket, my seat in the window, my silence in the air. Because this time I'm not flying away from them, I'm just flying toward myself.